that would enshrine the plan to neutralize their lethal weapons. On the ground, rebels agreed a truce with jihadists in a key border town, while a senior Syrian official said Damascus wanted a ceasefire in a 30-month war, which has killed more than 110,000 people and forced more than 2 million to flee.
Back resuming our press digest with Dr. Hoda Awad, Professor of Political Science at NIU. Dr. Awad, we were talking about the Rafah explosion, but we were talking about the legitimacy, because you brought up the subject of legitimacy, which is very, very contradictory. So if you could elaborate, because you said you are teaching, this is one of the main items in what subjects, exactly. An item also. And one of the main ideologies that people get mixed up when they hear about it. If you could elaborate on this term, legitimacy.
Thank you, because this is a term after my heart, or something, a subject after my heart, to be honest. And we're just saying that all these terrorist actions are justifying their violence under the name of we are defending legitimacy. And what's legitimacy on earth? It's, yes, the ballot box is one part, of democracy, that I choose this person because this person promised me to do 1, 2, 3. And they're basics, by the way. And 1, 2, 3, food, shelter, protection. Point. Well, if I ever failed in any one of the three, not the three, food, shelter, protection. I mean, food, if I have to satisfy my people with basic needs. Okay, this is what it meant to be food. Shelter also, housing, work, jobs, education, all this. Protection, that's security. And we call, individual security, people, and as well as the national security of the state itself. So these are the three basics here. And you come and put your program how you are going to fulfill the three promises here, the basics of legitimacy. If you fail in one, you immediately, ma'am, lose your legitimacy. Legitimacy means, why did I choose you in the first place?
That's very good that you elaborated on the legitimacy idea, because lots of people
this is how they justify their terrorist action and violence. This is, we are defending legitimacy, and they don't understand. And those who are going on demonstrations and sitting and want to have sitting in, this is also to defend, and we want back legitimacy. I mean, you want back legitimacy. Legitimacy has already been lost. From the first, even, I would say, 6 months of the rule of the ex-president.
We're still with Al-Ahram, and we read from one of the banners, retrieving the money of the insurance from Ministry of Finance after its losses in the stock market, increasing the minimum limit of pensions and social security to cover 1.6 million families. A memorandum calling for dissolving the Brotherhood organization for not abiding by the rules of establishing NGOs.
Another thing, violation. You keep violating law. I'm here, democracy also, it's a state, first of all, people's will, people's participation, and law. That it's, you have to follow laws. And this is, the law is above anyone, even above the head of the state. So if they keep violating everything. I mean, this is also about social justice and the NGOs and social justice. They keep violating, and they never fulfilled. And you want to tell me they wanted to keep their legitimacy? Based on what? This is exactly, thank you that you said this. This is exactly a very good example for what I mean by legitimacy. Exactly. That if I fail to do all what it's supposed to be done, legal, that you have to put the NGOs on a legal stand, and what they should do, what they should not do, what is expected from them as a role, particularly with the finance, the problem with finance. This is very
transparent.
Exactly, transparency is the third angle of
to have some
democracy.
credibility with the people who are dealing with you.
People participation, people's will, and transparency. And last thing, accountability. At the end of the day, what did you do?
Of course. From Al-Masri Al-Yawm, we read from the first page, the Minister of Planning says the United Arab Emirates is studying financing investment in Egypt at the cost of £20 billion. The central bank says the amount of foreign reserve retreats to $3.9 billion after returning the Qatari deposit worth £2 billion. Central Bank Governor Hisham Ramiz said Egypt has returned to Qatar $2 billion or refunded the $2 billion the Gulf state had deposited in Egypt's central bank after negotiations to convert the funds into 3-year bonds broke down. Qatar had sent Egypt $3 billion in May, in which it converted $1 billion into 3-year bonds. And on July 1st, Egypt converted the $1 billion into 3-year bonds at 3.5% interest. And in May, it converted another $2.5 billion of Qatari loans into 18 months bonds at 4.25% interest.
This is another issue here about the bonds here. And I think this has been very debatable issues about bonds. I mean, whether we need to really carry out bonds, money or investments in terms of bonds, or savings even in terms of bonds. And it was very debatable even from the shara, yani the legislative or the Islamic legislation. It was not accepted, and by Al-Azhar, I remember that, from the Islamic legislation point of view. So it was very highly debatable, and now you are refunding this too because they insist on the bonds, and I really couldn't, I didn't ever understand what is the significance behind that. Will it really help? Will it help only certain faction?
At the end of the day, it's going to expire one day.
And
so
at the end of the day,
exactly.
Thank you very much. I was about to say this. It's going to expire. So you need to invest in something else. That's why you have to refund it to Qatar again. And this is with the condition.
And if the Islamic legislation objected on the bonds idea, how come they introduced the sukuk? They wanted to implement sukuk.
This is what they were in power.
It's a big violation.
They were in power at that time.
Right. And we read from Al-Masri Al-Yawm, a banner says, Washington says, evaluating aid did not stop and our relations with Egypt is greater than aid. Now, before you elaborate, please, on that, I want to ask you a question.
I didn't get it, please. Could you read it?
Washington, the administration says, evaluating the aid, the U.S. aid did not stop, and our relations with Egypt is greater than aid. But the aid is conditioned with the peace treaty, Camp David.
Yes.
Once they stop it, they are breaching this treaty, and we don't have to abide with it, right?
Exactly. This is
so how come they say that? They are not in a place to say that.
I really wonder, I mean, the administration is trying to flirt with the Congress or what? I don't know. Really, sometimes when I hear Obama's last speech, I said he was just mainly flirting with the Congress because he knows his position. I mean, why did you give all this money to support who? And on what basis? I mean, all these are interrogations now. You are supporting the Muslim Brothers, why? And on what basis? Of course, there are things that you cannot declare publicly, like yes,
and now supporting Al-Qaeda.
Now supporting Al-Qaeda, exactly. This is what I'm trying to say, and that's to evaluate very well. Are they serious about it? Because they understand that immediately when they say something like this, then you are violating the treaty. The Camp David Treaty, and then we have to reevaluate also certain items in this treaty, which is not going to be for the good of the of Israel. So I wonder why. I mean, his speech, and this is a second again, as you said, a declaration. So I mean, is the administration being serious? And this is another thing. You know, you can lose your legitimacy because of this. Remember, and I'm glad that you allowed me to speak about legitimacy in this. You can lose legitimacy, the administration here, the U.S. administration, because of such declarations.
And wouldn't you lose legitimacy by launching war without any authorization from the Security Council of the United Nations or from the Congress? I mean, that's also another important question. As we are running out of time, unfortunately, we'll have to run to the other banner in Al-Ahram. The public prosecution orders the detention of suspect in Kirdasa's instance for 15 days pending investigations. The prosecution accuses 6 of the Brotherhood of inciting violence. General Prosecutor, Councillor Hisham Barakat, ordered detention of 80 suspects pending investigations. And the latest violent incidents occurred in the Giza, Kirdasa suburb. The suspects are accused of committing terror crimes intentionally killing Police General Nabil Farag, attempting the killing of other security personnel, joining armed group, resisting authorities, in addition to illegal possession of weapons and explosives. And a quick report is coming up, and we'll come back with Dr. Awad in a moment, so stay with us.
Egyptian security forces were hunting for armed supporters of the Brotherhood on Friday after retaking control of a town in Cairo in a crackdown. Security sources said that 87 people have been arrested since the troops and police stormed Qadassa on Thursday. State television said dozens of weapons, including rocket-propelled grenades, had been seized. Brotherhood sympathizers run deep in Qadassa, and hostility to the authorities has grown since Mohamed Morsi was deposed on July the 3rd. The violence has revived memories of the 1990s when an insurgency ravaged the tourist industry, one of the pillars of the economy. Egypt's finances and economy were already creaking under Morsi. Meanwhile, sporadic clashes erupted after Friday prayers as Brotherhood supporters demonstrated in several cities, leaving some people wounded. State news agency MENA reported that 6 people were also wounded in the city of Suez, while 30 people were arrested in Alexandria.
Welcome back, Dr. Awad. We need you to elaborate on that, as actually, unfortunately, we're running out of time. So if you could elaborate on the prosecution of those perverts and criminals.
I'm glad. I mean,
people want to take revenge. People are in agony, and they are in rampage.
For some time now. How long? I mean, ever since the 30th of June, of July, sorry, 30th of July, June or July? I mean, I couldn't.
June.
June. Thank you. I was in the street.
But
myself.
July also was great for you. 3rd of July.
3rd of July. Thank you. Well, there is no stability, and you know, terrorist action and violence has been escalating. So people are fed up, really, and they said, no, we need revenge now, particularly when it comes to killing or assassination of dear people to you, or people who are working and to defend the country, and they kill them because simply they are doing their duty to defend their countries. Of course, people should ask for this revenge, and I'm glad that the prosecutor, they are taking really serious actions, because for some time I said, when what's taking place in Minya and Delga and Qadassa, and why this procrastination, and now all of a sudden, you know, things really worked out in a very quick and efficient and serious. I would say, go ahead. I would applaud, and I say, go ahead.
Hopefully, and on this note, we end the press digest for this morning. Dr. Hoda Awad, Professor of Political Science at MIU here in Egypt. Thank you very much for coming over. Thank you for your time. And now it's Tina Yunus and a special report, of course, tourism, and we'll come back to you with the breakfast show.
Tourism.